debt, fear, relationships, the children, your health, work. When you want to give up and you need courage to continue, take heart and stay tuned as RJ Jackson writes her signature message of hope on your heart. You don't have to live where you're dying, and you don't have to die where you're living. Like every show of Conversations on Courage, you'll be informed, inspired, and encouraged to find the courage you need to succeed at home, work, and in your business. Get your pen and paper. You'll want to take notes. And now, your host, RJ Jackson, the Courage Giver.
Hello, beautiful. I'm your friend, RJ Jackson, your master encourager, accountability coach, speaker for your next event, and your down-to-earth, I'm listening, tell it like it is, I love you, girl, friend. Yep, that's me. Welcome to the conversation. This is a show for women who dare to be bold and courageous, women who live life unapologetically. This is a show where you can find the courage you need in order to succeed. This is episode 1 of Conversations on Courage. It's the one you'll want to listen to over and over again. It's the one you'll share with your friends. Matter of fact, go ahead. Why don't you do that right now? Why don't you show your sister friend that you care about her and you want her to succeed? Go ahead and share the show by hitting the share button right now. After all, sharing is caring. On today's show, we promise to fill your cup with courage one sip at a time. We're going to provide you with success strategies, inspiration, and purposeful conversation. What else are we going to do while we're together? Well, we're going to respond to your questions. You know, the ones you had the courage to ask out loud on our Facebook group. Girl, I'm working on it too. Oh, and by the way, if you're new and you're not a part of our group, we invite you to join us today on Facebook, where you will find a safe place to be you, authentically you, and meaningful relationships with women just like you. We'll also share in your story, and we will provide you with a life-giving experience. We're going to talk about change, the key to your breakthrough, addictions, and so much more on how you can change your story. Joining us at the table this week is Kirsten Leigh. Now, after running away from her dreams and addictions for over a decade, Kirsten, now a sought-after speaker, singer, and writer, shares how purpose is the key for your breakthrough and how at any point in your journey you can change your story.
Stay tuned. Coming up next, RJ brings her special guest to the table for more authentic and down-to-earth conversations on courage.
We want to welcome to the table Miss Kirsten Leigh. Kirsten, welcome, beautiful.
Thank you. I am so excited to be here.
Well, now that you're here, let's go ahead and get the conversation started. Tell us, if you will, what's your story? Like, how did you actually get here where you are today?
Well, I'll give you the short version of that answer, RJ. I'm originally from a small town in Kentucky. Growing up, nothing about my environment said, just do whatever you set your mind to, just be yourself. It was quite the opposite. I never fit in, and I was reminded of it daily. But despite the constant bullying, a very turbulent relationship with my dad, and an eating disorder that I managed to keep a secret, I still had big dreams. I was going to be a singer and an actress, and I practiced all the time. I also dreamed of one of my favorite artists just coming and whisking me out of that town. That never happened, but I did get a job when I was 12. You can do this in Kentucky. And I saved every penny I made, and I moved to New York City when I was 17. Now, if you were to have told me that right when my music career was getting ready to finally take off, that I would run away from everything I had ever dreamed of and worked towards and believed in, that one day I'd be drinking a 42-ounce beer before I left for work, just so I could have enough alcohol in my system to make it till lunch, that I would cry myself or drink myself to sleep most nights, that one day I'd be lying on my floor in Madison Avenue, the city I dreamed of living in, dying of alcohol poisoning, I would have said you were crazy, and I would have been wrong. Now, because I had been pretending I was fine since I was 9, I was able to hide this from most everyone. I had a good job. I went to church regularly. I did volunteer work. Everyone always commented on what a light I was. But I was living my life on a tightrope. I had faith that could move mountains on one side, and on the other I had all this fear. And I balanced very well for a long time. But balancing takes every bit of our energy. And it is the biggest distraction to our destiny. And eventually one side wins. You know, I knew I wasn't going to make it much longer. I had to stop drinking. But quitting meant I would have to deal with all of the reasons I was drinking so much in the first place. And the thought of that just made me want to drink more. But we have to deal to heal. And eventually I did deal. And I also made a promise to God to do whatever he said to just use me. And I meant it. However, when he told me that I was going to turn my mess into a message, as in preaching and sharing my story, my response was, why would I do that? I never told anyone when I was dying, so why now? You know, we're good, God, I have a clean slate. And then I remembered my promise. I had to remind myself of that promise a lot when I was writing Change Your Story. Change Your Story is my first book for adults and teens, and it's about not letting where you are become who you are. It equips you with the tools you need to break free from depression and to conquer addictions once and for all, and to let go of the lies and the lifestyles and the faulty mindsets that hold you back, so you can truly become everything God created you to be. So my rocky path has become stepping stones for audiences all over the world. And that is what brings me here today.
And it sounds like you're in an amazing place. Let's talk about, if you will, let's go back and talk about something you started the conversation with. You never fit in. And a part of your book talks about believing the lies. And I believe that's one of the lies that we as women believe, that we're supposed to fit in. So what's your take on that, fitting in?
I think it is, we're not supposed to fit in. We're supposed to be originals. We're supposed to be exactly like God made us to be. But society makes it hard on you, especially when you're a kid, because as kids, if you don't fit in with them, if you're different in any way, they make you an outcast. And the reason for that is because people are insecure. And they feel like, okay, maybe I'm supposed to be different, but they're not secure enough to be. So it just creates in you a lot of insecurity. You start doubting yourself, and doubt is never a good thing.
Never, ever a good thing. Ever, ever. We weren't born to fit in. We were born to stand out. And so thank you for standing out and sharing your truth today. By you standing out and sharing your truth, it gives other women the courage to stand up and stand out and do the same thing. So what have you learned from your story? What lessons have you learned that you could share with us today that we could walk away with feeling empowered?
Absolutely. There are so many lessons. Let's see, just to choose two, I will say that change requires vision. We have to focus on what we want, not where we've been or even where we are at the moment. You know, Romans 8:28 tells us that God can work all things out for our good. 1 Peter 5:8 warns us that our enemy, the devil, prowls around like a roaring lion looking for someone to devour. Now, prior to changing my story, I was letting the regret and the pain and the guilt, all of the things that the enemy uses to devour, dictate my story. And this was not the story God had planned for me, nor is it the story he plans for anyone, any of our listeners today. Change requires vision. We have to stop thinking about what we've lost, and we have to ask God, what's next? What can I do right now to get my life on track with your plan? And this is such an important question because it leads us to my second, the number 2 answer, which is purpose is the key to our breakthrough. There is a God-sized dream in everyone. It is bigger than us, and it's not about us. It's what makes us unique, and it goes back to what you said. We're not supposed to fit in. Our purpose is what we are created to do, and that is what the enemy is after. He knows if he can keep us distracted from that, we're never going to truly be who God created us to be. It's also why purpose is the key to our breakthrough. Discovering it, pursuing it, and believing it changes our life.
Purpose is the key to our breakthrough, because in order to break through, we got to have courage.
You're listening to Conversations on Courage with your host, RJ Jackson, the Courage Giver. Quick, call your friends and invite them to listen in.
So as we talk about vision, as we talk about purpose and the keys to breakthrough, let's talk about courage. That's definitely required.
We have to deal to heal. And, most of us know the obvious things that need changing in our life. But it's the things that we've hidden, even to ourselves, that keep us from making changes that stick. We have to dig deep within ourselves, and this takes courage, and it takes discipline, and it takes God holding our hand in the process. Our problems, our past, our addictions, they become our problems. But it's what's underneath them that's the real issue. We have to understand why we do what we do. This is a key ingredient in changing our story. Because until we understand why we eat too much, why we drink too much, why we lie, why we steal, cheat, why we have to stay busy or exhaust ourselves to relax, well, even if we stop that behavior, the why will find another area of our life to rule and reign in. And that's not what changing our story is about. Changing our story is about being free to live in the victorious, abundant life God created us for, to walk out our purpose. And this takes courage.
You're talking free. Oh, my gosh, we need to be free. But in order to be free, we got to what? Deal in order to heal. We got to deal to heal. Preach it, girl. Preach it. We're going to have to put the offering in a minute. So you had to deal.
Yes,
you
ma'am.
had to deal with what was in front of you, what was on the side of you, what was behind you. I know it wasn't easy. So tell us one of those hard lessons you learned as you had to deal to heal to help someone right now who's listening deal to heal.
I learned all my lessons the hard way. But to choose just one, let's see. Addiction is the biggest distraction to your destiny. You can't focus on your purpose, much less discover what it is, when you're consumed with thoughts like, does anyone know? Can they smell alcohol on me? Am I slurring? Oh, my gosh, I can't focus on my audition today because I'm scrambling in my closet trying to find something to wear because nothing fits, because last night I self-sabotaged myself by eating so much I got sick. I use alcohol and food as examples because it's what I struggled with. But you can be addicted to anything. You could be addicted to staying busy, watching TV, reading. You can be addicted to your recovery group. If it's all you think about, if it is consuming you, it's an addiction or a problem, whatever you want to call it. Sometimes they're not even terrible things. They're just things that are distracting you, and any distraction, anything like that is a distraction to your destiny. The good news is that God is bigger than addictions. And with Him, we can break free, we can overcome, and our story can give God glory.
Give Him glory, give Him glory. Listen, I'm a recovering ice-aholic. Yes, an ice-aholic. Your girl was addicted to ice. Let me tell you, I had to have ice everywhere I went. I had to carry me some ice. I had to have it. And one day, it was about 3 o'clock in the morning, I just got up, I just woke up out of my sleep, went down to the refrigerator, and totally dumped out all the ice and never looked back. What I decided to do was take care of my body in such a way that I did not need the ice. And for me, that meant making my iron a little bit higher to give me more energy so that I could concentrate on what God has called me to do. Yes, I'm a recovering ice-aholic. What are you recovering from? Because God wants us to be healed and whole, right? He wants us to be sozo. Sozo means completely healed. And we settle for S-O-S-O when God wants us to be S-O-Z-O. And as I've been saying today, you got to what? Deal to heal.
And you're so right. And that might sound crazy to some people about, it was ice. But it doesn't, because the devil uses anything to consume us. And so, amen to your healing.
And now I got some other areas that need to be healed, because the truth is I'm still broken, but willing to admit it. How about you?
That's the huge thing. Every day I just ask God, is there any area in my life where I'm in the way? Reveal that to me. Show me that.
And that's where that vision comes in, allowing Him to show you what He wants to do in us and through us.
Are you an author, coach, or speaker? If so, Worldwide Women Speakers is your place to connect. We provide you with the REST, resources, exposure, support, and tools you need to succeed. If you love seeing lives transformed and have a message for women, we invite you to join the Worldwide Women Speakers Dream Team. Head over to worldwidewomenspeakers.com and complete an application today.
So let's talk about your book. Tell me about your book.
Well, I have a couple books actually. Change Your Story is just about breaking free from what's holding us back, breaking through to what God has for us, living in our purpose, becoming the best version of ourselves.
And so what prompted you to write the book? I know you talked about earlier how you had to make a change, but how do you want your book to be an avenue for change for those who read it?
Well, I did not want to write that book. Like I said earlier, I made God a promise to do whatever He said, and the book ended up being a part of it. I use my dreams and detours, addictions, and tragedies as a backdrop, but the whole book is so for other people, to let them experience the freedom that God has for them, and to get rid of those lies and lifestyles and faulty mindsets that maybe they don't even realize are holding them back. But it's also for people whose lives are pretty good. But if truth be told, there's that little part of them that stopped believing at some point, that wants more out of life.
There's a part of us that have stopped dreaming. We have fears and doubts. How do we dream it? How do we dream it?
Well, it's interesting. I wasn't going to talk about this today, but I have a new book coming out called Believe, and it's actually God gave it to me 7 years ago, and it's actually, even though it's geared toward 8 to 12-year-olds, it's the book that God used to change my life. And in it, our main character is this vivacious 12-year-old who wants to prove to the world that she's more than just a dreamer. But the night before the biggest day of her life, an emergency landing in her family's small plane leaves her in the middle of nowhere with no way of making it home in time for her own musical debut. So her hopes and her dreams are just shattered. And, she's 12. She thinks it's the end of the world. But we think it's the end of the world, too, when things happen like this. And then she ends up stumbling upon this amazing opportunity. But instead of being excited, she's shocked and she's full of unbelief, thinking, it's crazy. There's no time. I've never done this before. Now, her new older friend tells her that sometimes we live so strongly in our disappointments that we don't see the amazing possibilities right in front of us, that sometimes they're the greatest opportunities thus far, but we're so busy looking behind that we miss out. Now, of course, our 12-year-old hero instantly decides there's no way that's happening to her. Now, a lot of things have happened since we were 12. Rejections, misplaced trust, financial concerns, addictions, broken hearts. All of these things make it hard to believe that something spectacular is coming our way. But the Bible tells us that God can restore the years we've sown in tears, that our latter days can be greater than the former ones. So no matter how things look or how we feel, we have to believe that there is a masterpiece inside us just waiting to be discovered, that God still has a purpose and a plan for our life, that we can change our story, that we just have to believe.
Believe again. It's time to believe again. We want to encourage you to do that. We want to encourage you, as you listen, to believe again, to dream again, and for many of you, to live again. And now is the time. Now is the time. It takes courage to do that. Let's talk about what's next for you. You have a book coming out. You have a song as well, don't you? Tell me about your song.
Thank you so much. But yes, Believe will be coming out next month. And it's like the older woman tells her, we just can't live in our disappointment because we miss what God has for us. So, yes, it's all about believing. And my song, thank you for asking, it is a gift that God gave me. It takes my story to a whole nother level because like in the beginning I mentioned, singing and acting is all I ever wanted to do. And it took me a long time to forgive myself for running away from that dream. But eventually I did. And when I made that promise to do whatever God said, I never pictured myself as a solo artist again, singing on stage. But God had different plans. It's like once I had done all of these things He asked me to do, and He knew I was sturdy as a palm tree, He blessed me with a song called Changed My Story. And it literally takes my story to another level. And it's God's gift to me, and it's been my gift to be able to share it with others. And so I've been singing a lot and speaking the message to change your story. You can find the song on Spotify, Amazon, anywhere you can buy music, but it's called Change My Story. And I just pray that it stirs people's soul, that it speaks to their heart, and that it revives them, and it reminds them that with God you can change your story.
With God, you can change your story. You're living proof of that, and thank you for sharing your story and the change that God has made in your life. We'd love to connect with you, hear more about your story, find out where we can get your book. How can we do that? How can we connect with you?
Well, I would just love that, too. Thank you for asking. You can check out my website, which is kirstenleigh.biz. That's KirstenLeigh.biz. KirstenLeigh.biz is my website, and connect@kirstenleigh.biz is my email. And I'm available to speak at your event. It is an honor for me to be able to share my turn to message in order that my rocky path can be stepping stones for other people. So I'd love to hear from you.
If you missed any of that, didn't get a chance to write it down, as always, you can gather that information right off of our website, conversationsoncourage.com. Oh, Kirsten Leigh, oh, girl, let me tell you, you have blessed my heart today, totally blessed by everything you shared. about vision, about change, about breakthroughs, because it's what we as women definitely need to hear. Thank you so much for sharing your story and for being a part of our journey. Do me a favor, leave us with some encouraging words today.
Oh, well, thank you so much for having me, Arthur. This has been wonderful. You are just an example of courage yourself, an example of strength and how God can change our story. And at any point in our life, we can just get on track with His plan. So I just thank you for having me. It is an honor to be here. And what I would like to leave with you is don't ever listen to the lie that you are too far gone, that you have just messed up too much, that you're too old, it's too late, you're too young. Don't listen to any of that. Learn to discern God's voice and that of the enemy. Let God take your story to another level. Give Him the glory by getting it on track with His plan. And know that at any point in the journey, you can choose to change. You can choose to change your story. You just have to believe God still has a plan for you, but you have to believe it and you have to fight for it.
Couldn't turn my life around. Struggling on my own, something's always wrong. A grip of fear holding me back till you turn my life around. Walls crumble, fear collides when your story touches mine. You changed my story. You took the bad and made it good. You changed my story. You did just what you said you would. You changed my story. When I was weak, you made me strong. I give you glory. Change my story. Let your plan unfold so my story can be told. The past can't hide me, your love has found me. There was nowhere I could go but straight the pain away. It's a new day, so grateful for your love. Walls crumble, fear collides when your story touches mine. You changed my story. You took the bad and made it good. You changed my story. You did just what you said you would. You changed my story. When I was weak, you made me strong. I give you glory for all you've done. I give you glory. All you've done, all you gotta do. I give you glory. Oh yeah, I give you glory. Oh, you changed my story. You took the bad and made it good. You changed my story. You did just what you said you would. You changed my story. I'm no longer on my own. You changed my story. You made me strong. You're the chain breaker, the way maker. You changed my story. The chain breaker, the way maker. You changed my story. When I was weak, you made me strong. I give you glory. You changed my story.
Kirsten, thank you so much for joining us at the table. It's been a delightful conversation on courage. And you, my friend, well, girl, you know we're nothing without you. So thank you for being here, beautiful, and being the most valuable part of the Conversation on Courage podcast. Join us again next week for another down-to-earth Conversation on Courage. I'm your host, RJ Jackson, the Courage Giver, and you are somebody special. Until soon, keep up your courage and stay blessed indeed.
Thank you for joining us for Conversations on Courage. Now that you've been inspired, informed, and encouraged, it's time for you to take action. So head on over to thecouragegiver.com. That's thecouragegiver.com and connect with RJ for a personal conversation on courage. She's waiting to help you take the risk you need to succeed.